Hey everyone, Talking Dave over here, the dorky talking black guy that's just trying to get by. And welcome to another edition of the Garou Densetsu Flashback. In celebration of the 25-year plus anniversary of the franchise, I'm taking it upon myself to share my memories of playing the games in the arcade and home console at that period of time, and share my memories and my feelings on other Garou Densetsu related media, primarily the animes. So, yeah, sorry guys, but I couldn't get anyone to basically put the Fatal Fury or King of Fighters name on this trucker cap and everything in time. So, just deal with it. But, so, last video I briefly spoke about Garou Densetsu, the original game. Despite me liking it, I can see why it didn't catch on, you know. The control was fairly off, you know, the graphics were not really impressive, especially since basically Street Fighter 2 was out at that time and everything, and would clearly blow it away. But I gave it props for having an actual plot, expanding other styles of martial arts, introducing a mixed martial artist as a lead character, and as well as making the lead character a non-Asian descent character. Plus, I don't think I mentioned this, but giving us a setting in the actual urban area, you know, to top it off, giving us an antagonist, you know, that basically, you know, doesn't appear to have world domination views. But then again, that is going to change in a little bit. So, all of that said, basically, you know, why was there a sequel made? Well, like the Street Fighter series, there was potential. Something that I saw, and if I saw it, I'm sure execs saw it. And then a year later, was it a year later? Hold on. Yeah, a year later, we got the game that introduced me to the series, Garou Densetsu 2. All right. You know how I was saying in my Street Fighter flashback that almost everyone thinks of Street Fighter, they think of Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 was the one that introduced them to the series. Well, for me, it was Garou Densetsu 2 that got me introduced to the series. And this was the first Garou Densetsu game that I played in the arcades. And when people tend to think of Garou Densetsu, this is the game they think of. Primarily because, basically, if you're a fan of the King of Fighters series, right, you will see a lot of the characters from that series, they were introduced in this game, all right? Now, the plot of this game is paper thin, kind of like the first game, but hey, early 90s, fighting games actually having plots, it started happening and everything, and SNK was in the forefront of it. So the plot of this one is the fact that Terry Bogard is the King of Fighters champion. All right? So after a year, he gets an invitation to another King of Fighters tournament. However, unlike the previous tournament, this one is held worldwide and nobody knows basically who the sponsor is. Prior to the tournament, Terry is encountered by somebody named Wolfgang Krauser, who beats the living fuck out of him, right? So, with the glory of beating Geese basically getting to his head and the beating he just received by Krauser, Terry actually, realizes that he actually can't just go on his skill anymore. He actually has to hone and train. And he accepts this tournament, he accepts the invitation in anticipation of trying to see what else is out there in the world. Guys, this game is awesome. Alright? This was the game, like I said, this is the game that introduced me to this series. This was the game that made me a huge fan of the franchise and made me like these characters a lot. While a lot of people focused on Terry mostly, I actually focused my attention on Andy. You see, a lot of people, when they talk about Garou Densetsu and when they mention Andy Bogard, they only mention Andy within these two references: Terry's younger brother and Mai's boyfriend. And we'll get into her fairly soon. When I saw Andy in this game, maybe it was the fighting stance that he had, but his moveset actually really interested me and everything. It interested me as much as Terry. But the one move that Andy does that I just fell in love with is his Zanyanken, which is basically a dash version of the elbow. Or it's like basically a super quick elbow strike that will hit you directly in the solar plexus or directly in the face, depending on, like, you know, how tall you are and everything. And then when I saw his version of the Dragon Punch, which is called the Shoryudan and everything, it looked like it was slicing you in half, and that was awesome and everything. Plus his Fireball, his Get Shoken and everything was huge and everything. So this was the game that made me an Andy fan. But that's not saying that basically Terry was some pushover and everything. You know, I love Terry's crack shot. I love the burn knuckle and the power wave. The rising tackle, I can give or take. I'll talk about the rising tackle in in the Real Bout series when I get there. But neither here or there. Basically, definitely the Bogart Brothers were like the main focus of the original game and are predominant focus in this game. You know. Also, in Garou Densetsu, basically, this is where we get an expansion. This is where we get introduced to Mai Shiranui and everything. Andy's love interest and, like, in my opinion, the hottest fighting game babe out there. Yes, it's a tits. She got some freaking knockers and everything. God damn. Ooh, some big ass titties right there. Damn, and everything. But she is more than just that, you know. She is actually, like, you know, like I said, she's a love interest of Andy, and they actually have this really interesting dynamic. They both deeply care about each other, but in the series, it's more used for comedy and everything. But if you dig deep down into it and everything, Mai can come off as a bit of an airhead and a bit of fleety, but she has this deep love, affection, and draw and loyalty towards Andy that, you know, I give her props for it because most chicks don't have it. Oh, there's this romance thing and everything, but really, in general, chicks tend to be shallow and everything. And Mai comes off that way. But when it comes down to it, there's no one like Andy. Andy is the only one for her and everything. And basically, the dynamic of her over passionate love and Andy's, like, you know, feeling he's not mature enough or, like, kind of, like, shy about it, wants to keep things private and everything. It's a good contrast. It's great for comedy and everything. The other person that got introduced in this game was Kim Kafan. And I got to say, Kim Kafan is one of my two favorite Taekwondo stylists in fighting games of all time and everything. Kim was a badass in this game and everything. And, like, one thing that I do like about the Garou Densetsu series, as well as the King of Fighters series, is it gave Kim justice. Kim is an awesome character and everything, and I'm glad that he's become a staple of the series and everything. Now, in the last video, I talked about Raiden and everything. One of someone who I think is an underrated character. He makes his return in this game, but he is not called Raiden. He's called Big Bear. And what I like about this is, while he was in the original Garou Densetsu, he had a mask on and everything, and he was an antagonist. Here, he has his mask off, but he's a good guy in this. And they state that basically the reason he had his mask on was in the original was because he was a heel, where in Garou Densetsu and everything, he is a face, giving us proper pro wrestling terminology and everything, which I think is really awesome. And to top it off, Big Bear / Raiden in this game is actually a force to be reckoned with. Just because he's a big grappling character, he is difficult to play against and utilize. Another character that is really underrated and not given enough props is Chen Shihan and everything. He is an overweight kung fu stylist. Well, more of a the way he moves, he's more of a Tai Chi stylist and everything. But Chen Shihan is also kind of played for comedy to a degree, but like not as much as a relationship with Mai and Andy and everything, nor as much as it is with Joe Higashi, who has become the goofball character effective next game and everything, you know. But Chen Shihan is actually really fun to play as and against, and like, you know, anytime you see him in this series, it's always a breath of fresh air. This game introduces us actually to some new antagonists, you know. A returning antagonist and a main staple of the series is Billy Kane, and he is back, and he is actually working for the new criminal sponsor of the game and everything, which I'll get to in a brief second, you know. We have an interesting boxer in this game called Axel Hawk. Now, Axel Hawk is a little different compared to other boxers. He is definitely based around the super heavyweight boxer Butterby and everything, and while he can come off as a little generic and not interesting, if you ever fight against him and everything, you gotta give the guy props, because, like, you know, he moves remarkably fast for some heavy overweight dude and everything. Lawrence Blood is actually someone that doesn't get any respect as well too. You know, when I talk about the animes and everything, he's a bit of a pushover, but his moveset here is pretty cool. And his stage is actually remarkable. And I'm going to talk about the stages in a brief second, but pretty much basically his stage is actually awesome. The new antagonist is Wolfgang Krauser, and god damn, Krauser is a badass. People complain that, you know, in this game, he is not as cool as he is in the anime, and I highly disagree. The dude is tall, the dude is buff, the dude is quick and everything, and he is so freaking regal and everything. He just reeks his awesomeness and everything. While Geese is the frequent antagonist, Krauser and everything, to me, is the badass and the epitome of, like, you know, the hugest obstacle all the fighters have to go against. So, Garou Densetsu and everything was my introduction to this series, and it was surely amazing. And it was improved a year later when we got Garou Densetsu Special. Oh, before I go into Garou Densetsu Special, I need to make a note of something. A lot of the characters from the original game were not in here, except for some of the playable characters. And we saw their fate in Garou Densetsu 2. When you defeated the original 8 characters. Wait, hold on. Terry, Andy, Joe, Mai, Kim, Big Bear, Jubei, Shihan, and everything. Yeah, when you defeated the original 8 characters, you actually saw how Krauser not only beat the crap out of Terry, but he beat the crap out of everybody from the previous game and everything. So now let's go into Garou Densetsu Special. Here we pretty much got Garou Densetsu 2, but it added some of the characters from the previous game. We got Duck King coming back. We got Tong Fu Ru and everything. I didn't talk about Tong Fu and everything because I personally think he's one of the most overrated characters, but he plays a very important role in the OVAs, which I'll probably be talking about in another video pretty soon. But Tong Fu returns, as well as Geese Howard returns and everything. And their additions to this game actually, like, you know, really amps everything up. In addition, you know, the backgrounds of the stages are really, really cool and everything. Especially with Duck's stage. Duck's in like, you know, not a concert, but in a club and everything. Amazing. Terry's stage, fighting on the top of a freight train. Awesome. My stage, on a raft. Really cool and everything. The background stages of this game are freaking awesome. So, like, the Garou Densetsu 2 and Garou Densetsu Special and everything, you know, it's a must-play for any fighting game enthusiast. And I played both of these in the arcade. No, I did not beat these. In fact, I don't think I beat any of the Garou Densetsu games in the arcades. But they were such fun to play and everything. But if you're not a fan of the series and everything, or if you're interested, please pick up this Garou Densetsu 2 or Garou Densetsu Special and everything as your starter. And you will appreciate and you will love the series because of it. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Do you guys got any comments or any memories about playing Garou Densetsu 2 or Garou Densetsu Special? Please drop a comment below, give me a like, follow me on Facebook at Token Dave or on Twitter at TokenDave80, subscribe, and ring that bell so you know when a new video loads. But until then, this has been Token Dave, the dorky token black guy who's just trying to get by, and I'll catch you guys later.